I'm Chris Barker.
And I'm Will Betts, and this is the MusicTech My Forever Studio podcast, brought to you in partnership with Audient. And we're coming to you from TYX Studios in London.
In this podcast, we speak with musicians, DJs, engineers and producers about their Fantasy Forever studio.
The Fantasyland studio that our guests dream up is one that they will have to live with for the rest of time. But even in the world of studio foreverdom, we have a few rules.
Indeed, the rules. Our guests will select a computer, a DAW and an audio interface. Those are the three items that everybody gets. Then our guests will choose just 6 other bits of studio gear, plus 1 non-studio related luxury item.
There is one more rule though, isn't there, Chris?
Yes!
No bundles!
That is right, no bundles.
Choosing something sold as a package of separate software or hardware as a single item is not allowed.
That is right. This time, we are joined by a prolific music producer who's worked with other podcast guests like Ellie, Dixon and Gary Barlow, as well as Fred again, Laura Marling and many more.
But our guest is just as comfortable as an artist, and their latest project is a crossover indie D&B act with a stupidly fun live show.
Not only that, they are a huge champion of trans people and a co-founder of the Trans Creative Collective.
And we hear a big gear nerd.
Yes, gear nerds we like.
This is My Forever Studio with Charlie Deakin Davies, aka Charlie.
Hello, Charlie. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Great to finally get you. We've been trying to get you on for a long time now, so this is great. We finally made it happen.
And are our suspicions right? You are a massive gear nerd?
Yes.
Correct. Hooray.
Excellent.
Drum roll, please.
Well, you heard a bit about the podcast and we're going to build this Fantasy Forever studio in a second. But let's start off about your journey into music making, how you became a gear nerd, you know, all of the facets of what you do, essentially. How did it all begin?
Well, I think I got into doing music how I think a lot of people did, or like music production, in the sense that like I wanted to be a musician. So I actually got my first guitar when I was 11, so I was very lucky to have that. But an interesting thing about that was I hated other people's music. And I literally didn't want to learn covers or anything. My guitar teachers had to basically work with me because I was like, I just want to write songs. That's like the only thing I want to do. And so my guitar teacher really generously just taught me how to do like chord progressions that sound good together, like concepts, fundamentals of songwriting. And so naturally...
That's actually a really good building block, isn't it?
Incredible.
And so every week I would have to come with a song I'd written, and I had to have used new chords like when I'd done that. So it like made me see the guitar as like an extension of creativity rather than like a finite thing that you have to do, because I didn't do grades.
And was there a reason you chose the guitar, or was it chosen for you? Or
it's the coolest, right?
Yeah,
it's the coolest.
It's hard to
thing.
look cool sat down behind a piano or a keyboard. Oh, as cool.
As cool, yeah. Keytar.
Yeah, the ultimate solution to looking cool.
It is weird with the keytar how to try and somebody's obviously gone, we just can't stand up with it, we need to make it cooler, and it's done the opposite.
I don't know, if you push up the sleeves on like a white suit or a pink suit, I think you look pretty cool.
I was actually on the cover of Future Music magazine, not my face, holding the Roland keytar in a white suit for one of our shoots back in the day.
Wow.
Because we didn't
Are you
have
the blueprint?
We didn't have them. No, I was imitating that idea, that image that you said.
Miami Vice type.
We just was like, well, it's a keytar. Let's just have hit the nail right on the head with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you actually chose it. That's what I mean. You didn't.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are forced at school depending on what instruments are left and things like that.
My dad had guitars and stuff like that, so I think I was sort of like, well, that's naturally a thing that people do, right? Like it was just a rite of passage. And then in my confidence, I was just like, well, obviously the next step is to start a band. And I was really lucky that there were like children in my school that were getting other music lessons, so I just like made a band up.
How long between learning the instrument and having a band?
Oh my god, like a day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
like
love
the
that.
guitar meant I started the band.
You got 3 chords, you go, that's it, I've got it.
Yeah.
When's the first gig?
But I used to write all the songs and everything, like all the parts, like even though I don't know where I got this. And we used to gig and everything, but we used to do, the band name still makes me laugh to this day. We were called Loud Wednesdays because we did band practice every Wednesday and it was really loud.
It's not a bad name.
That's a pretty good name.
Thank you.
How did not doing covers? Did you not do covers in the band?
We did do some, but it was mostly just music I wrote. And then we just, I've got to give credit to the other band members. Like, it was a collaborative process.
But did you hate doing the covers?
It was not, I don't know, I didn't really like it. It felt like homework when I had to learn a cover for the band. I was like, why are we not just playing our songs? But yeah, I don't know. I think it basically it got me into like the understanding of multi-layering conceptual parts and things like that, and I got to do live shows as well, so I got the bug really early on of like this understanding of like creating music and then how it responds live was something that has been the core of like everything that I've done, like even up to the Charlie project. Like that's the core of like what I like about music, really. But moved on a couple of years, and then I made another band, and it was like at the height of Mumford & Sons and Florence the Machine and everything like that, and we were like in this little folk band, and we ended up doing pretty well, and we ended up getting scouted by Ireland when we were like 15.
Wow.
So off SoundCloud, it was the era of SoundCloud.
Amazing, yeah. It works though.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know, it was just it meant that we had this incredible experience where we got to go to when the Universal building was in Kensington, and basically they had an underground recording studio called the Submarine or something. Ironically, it flooded.
Wow, that's nominative determinism for a studio.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But when we were in the process of recording, we did multi-tracking, because you do, and my brain exploded. I was like, oh my God, you can play a part and then play another part over it and then another part, and you can make a song like this, because all I had done before was like I had to keep making bands because I wanted multiple things to be played.
Sack all your bandmates immediately.
Yeah,
Sorry guys.
Yeah, you're done.
Done. No need for you lot anymore.
Yeah, literally. I mean, that isn't what happened.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh my God, and then I've like said this so much, but it's so true of what I did. I was literally over the shoulder of the engineer going, what does that button do? What does that button do? What does that button do? And like, that's how I kind of like really got this second bug for engineering and music production, which then again, I always saw music production as an extension of songwriting. So like, and then when I found out that you could like use equipment to make different sounds, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, that was like a whole chapter there, which then led to like future elements as well.
So when did you first start recording yourself, or recording and producing your own music? What you would say was your own music?
Okay, so in the spirit of like studios and like this whole theme, picture this. There's a glorified shed at the bottom of a garden. It's got a red carpet. Each wall is alternate, painted yellow and purple. Right. There is a mirror that is 7 foot long on one side and a giant red sofa that matches the carpet. There is lasers and strobe lights attached into the ceiling, and then like surround sound speakers in this. I guess it's like a man cave really, but like a very colourful one. Mm-hmm. I'm sat with a bedside table, like a little drawer unit, with my Beats laptop on a beanbag with 2 speakers using Audacity to have to track down me like writing my own songs. But Audacity has such bad latency that you would have to like either ignore the thing you were listening to and just carry on playing it, or like move it over. And that didn't deter me from doing music production. I was like, this is my life. I've found myself in this like environment. Is there
anything you recorded then that people can hear now?
Do you know what? I actually recorded something that I was still in the band at the time, and this was like a personal thing, and it ended up getting played on a like indie radio station. This song, because my mum submitted it for me to this like thing or whatever. It caused such a stir in the band. They were like, "You're splintering off from our band. You're doing a solo project," and I was like, "I just
the Audacity."
Yay! Nice.
Oh my God, yeah, it was such turmoil. The band actually broke up eventually, but not because of my splintering solo project. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was quite a journey. But that's where I got into it. But then I kind of ended up having like an interesting progression into recording in general, because then I did start recording the band, and we did record a cover With or Without You for the BBC introducing show needed.
So that hints the rest of the band.
Yeah. I hope they never see this. Sorry, Lucy and Rose. But yeah, we produced up that, and then that was the first time that something I had produced ever like really got into the BBC, and I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I then upgraded my studio, right? I'm like, I need a table. That's like
Big move.
Big move. So I got a dining room table that's now my desk. My dad had this little box that I can't even remember what it's called, but basically converted 2 jacks into USB. But then I plugged it into a mixing desk beforehand so I could at least EQ the stuff. I now understand I didn't need to do that, but it made me much more confident with, strong decisions over an analog chain going into a computer.
We're getting the sound right on the way in.
Yeah, exactly. I would spend a lot of time EQing it and making sure all the effects it wasn't having effects on it really, but like the EQ and the gain staging was correct. And even like I learned how to do, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but I learned how to do, like, if I knew an artist was going to do a really big vocal thing, like, I would say, like, stay on the mic, and then I would pull the fader down, like, on that. So I was doing, like...
vocal riding. And, amazing.
And stuff like that. And I was, like, I don't know, like, 16 when I was doing that. So, like, I think I got, like, a lot of confidence with using equipment from a young age, just because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just noticed I needed to do that because no one taught me how to do any of this. Like, I just, like, learned it. And then... at school, we technically had a music production course, but, like, it was no shade to my school, but, like, I don't know what they thought they were doing. And we were on Cubase 5, and so I got, a second-hand copy of Cubase 5 with the CDs and installed it on my Beats laptop. Shout out Beats. I don't know why I like giving it.
Did you know that was a thing? Beats did laptops.
Hewlett
They did a
Packard.
collaboration.
Oh yeah, right.
But it was strong. It did what it needed to do. And then that's when I started recording other people. And so me and my mum would go to open mics. And then we would find an artist that we thought was really good. Well, I say this doesn't happen that many times, but, like, one time this happened. So we went, and then I was really in the folk scene because the band I was in was, like, a folk band. And so just knew about a lot of, like, things going on. So I spoke to this woman and I was like, hey, have you got any music recorded? And she was like, no. And I was like, do you want some music recorded? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, come to my studio. So then we made a 5-track EP, and it was really good because I just, like, I did it for free. It was just, like, really good exposure for me to, like, work with someone I didn't know and, like, try to be professional and, like, learn how to be a producer. And so then I went to the open mic again. Like
and you're 16 at this point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then go to another open mic. Maybe I'm 17 at this point, but, like, I was a teenager. Then we go to the open mic again, and then I went up to this other artist and said, I love your music. Have you got anything recorded? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, here's an EP I've done. I charge £10 a song. Do you want to come do an EP with me? And she was like, yeah, of course. So then we record this EP. I'm pretty proud of it. I'm like, this is really good. And then I use that £50 to get a better microphone. I then go to the open mic again, and then I'm like, hi, I've done 2 EPs. Do you want to produce with me? I charge £20 a song.
Oh, at this rate, yeah.
Yeah. And then I bought another interface. But in that time period, the second EP that I had done, one of the songs got played on Radio 2.
Amazing.
Whoa.
And so then I became, like, one of the youngest producers to have a track on Radio 2. And then that really set me up for, like, oh, maybe I'm not terrible at this. And this is before I knew about compression as well. So I was literally automating every wave audio, like, of the vocal, of the guitar and everything, because it's folk music. It's all about, like, the organic recording being done really well. And, like, I did additional production on it and added bits and bobs, but, like, it was more about, like, just making sure it sounded incredible. And so I would spend ages miking up the guitars in these different ways. I would spend ages, like, I would do double tracks, but I didn't have 2 microphones. So I'd make them play it exactly the same again. Honestly, it must have been really meticulous, like over the top, but it sounded good.
It was, got on the radio, so.
Yeah. And so then I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it kind of spiraled on from there, and then I moved on to
until you were £200 a track.
well, yeah, literally, and up. Just incrementally was just, like, going up. I mean, getting that BBC played suddenly made me, like, a lot more official because people were like, oh my God.
Yeah, amazing.
And so how many of these EPs did you do in that period, you reckon?
Well, I think by the time I was 21 or something, I had released over 100 songs. So
Wow.
It was like what I did. But in the meantime, I got kicked out of school when I was 17. Quote, I was taking music too seriously.
Wow, that's...
Yeah.
Such a weird diss, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you feel now that you've taken music so seriously?
It was great.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's like I'm having a great time. Like, yeah. So it was quite an interesting thing. So then I always just chose up until I was about 22 to just constantly upgrade that space. And there was a point where I was like, this isn't an official stat, but there was a point where I honestly was producing about 30% of the artists in like the Hertfordshire area, because on BBC Introducing, it became a joke that I had produced at least one song every episode. There was like an artist that I'd worked with, and it was like, they got a point where they just rang me into the episode to just talk about music production, because I was just like produced everyone. Like, yeah, it was, I was on such a high during that period of my life. Like, it was really like, I felt so good. And then that's when, subsequently after that, I started winning awards for my music production and getting nominated for lots of stuff, because I ended up winning the NMG award for Best Producer of the Year 2 years in a row. Like, when they introduced the award, that I won it, and then I just immediately won it the next year. And then by the next year, I'd ended up getting a bbigger job, and I just didn't even let myself be entered, because I was like, I'm not going to lie, like, I just will win again. Like, not trying to, just like, by this point I had got really, like, I got charting music, and before it was slightly more local than that. So I was like, I think let's just let there be space, like, awesome. for some other people. But yeah, it leads on to like another thing, but we can talk about that.
Well, I mean, what might lead us to the first thing of this sort of our format, really, of the Forever Studio is what your studio would look like and where you would have it in the world. So don't think about equipment, but like, you know, are you still into the shed vibes? I think so the vibe, I know I like the serious switch.
Yeah. No, this is serious. If I'm having to do this forever, what am I feeling?
Yeah, exactly.
My main thing is that I don't want something to feel like a studio. I don't want anything to feel like a studio. I want something that feels like a natural creative space that happens to have equipment in it. But in regards to like the location of that, I feel like with the continuation of the fluidity of it, I do think somewhere in a city would be really nice. But I want it to not, like, obviously soundproofed and everything like that, but like I'd love to have like a green space outside of the studio, but also just somewhere that like you can just pop out. I mean, Strong Room is great for it because it's like so central, and I'd really like the energy of like, oh, I'm just gonna go get some sushi or something, like, and you can just do that. I really like that because you then see something on the street, or if you're even in your head too much, there's so much going on that you instantly get taken out of your head. And I think that's really important when you're songwriting and producing and everything, where if you're too far into the countryside, I think sometimes like going outside can feel really nice and it's like grounding, but I don't think it's inspiring. I think it's calming, and it depends what you work on. I work on upbeat hyperpop drum and bass indie music, so being in the countryside is not directly like what I want, but I do want to see green, like, so yeah, I'm not picturing it like one side is like onto the street and then the other has got a garden, and I want like a big window that like looks into the garden, like on that side of the studio.
And which city?
London.
Yes,
I know it's based. I've already got a studio in London, and I love it. I'm based at 1087 at the moment, and I really like it there.
In Tottenham, is it?
Yeah, it's really like it's really artsy, and like because it's a complex, right? There's like so many other producers, so you just bump into people, you hear stuff. Like the amount of times I've just heard something in someone else's studio, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I feel like invigorated now to like go do something else. So
with that in mind, you prefer to go to a separate place. You would never have a studio at home again.
No, because even when I had it at home, it was still like separate. Like I really don't like bedroom studios, which is going to be really funny because Ellie is going to talk about the wonders of a bedroom studio. So like, yeah. But yeah, no, I don't. I like the separation. I'm a massive like gamer as well, so I like gaming in my bedroom. But I don't know. I like the separation. So
we'll get that space in the locked into the Fantasy Forever studio, right?
Yes.
So we've got a kind of, so should we say like you own Strong Room but there's a big garden?
Yeah, that'd be
You're going to turn the courtyard into a beautiful garden.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the next natural progression for Strong Room, right? Because it was a car park, now it's a garden bar, like a garden beer garden.
So,
yeah, you're rewilding Strong Room.
Yeah,
nice.
But it's a separate location that you go to, and we're in London. So we've got that locked in, right? Okay, so now you get the 3 free items, which everybody gets: the computer, DAW, and the audio interface. So tell us about the computer you're choosing.
I just want the most souped up MacBook.
Yeah,
like
going laptop.
Yeah, because I produce on the go all the time, and like, I don't know, I just really like the freedom of it. I even like being able to sit somewhere else in my studio and like do stuff. One of my favourite songs I produced recently, it's not out, but I I literally produced in my bed. And then I ended up having a crisis because I was like, oh my God, this sounds better than everything else I've recorded recently. Do I even need to be shelling out this much money for a studio? Like, if I can produce this in my bed, like, I was like, I even recorded the vocals just like into the microphone. It sounded so good. Like, and I was like, this is an identity crisis. But anyway, I carried on and went back to my studio.
Yeah, just sort of shelve the existential crisis.
Yeah.
It's probably because of all your knowledge about the studio that you can do that, though.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But yeah, I'm not like, I just want the best one. Honestly, the i9 chip was, in my opinion, better than the M series stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, I've got an M1 Pro 10, I don't know, whatever, jobby, and it's fine. But my i7, it was my first proper MacBook, and that I got when I was 18 or something. It was secondhand back then. No laptop as compared to how good that one was. I could still use it now. It's just, it has just run its course. Like, it needs a new battery and stuff. Like, I remember I was doing a session with Piri and May Muller, and my laptop was overheating so bad that I had to put it like this way up, like on the table, and then I was just pouring water down the back, and it was like, and they were just like horrified, and I was like, it will be fine. And it didn't get water damage. Like, I just knew that laptop was going to be okay. But that one also, oh my God, I was doing a talk somewhere, and in my bag I had my keys, which had my car keys, house keys, studio keys, AirPods, and like special custom ear plugs, whatever, on. And as I was doing this talk, I put the keys on the top of my bag and went inside, and someone stole my keys out of my bag, and it was the night before Glastonbury. And I was like, oh my God. And then someone gave me a Diet Coke. I'm addicted to Diet Coke. They gave me a Diet Coke can just to be like, oh, that's so bad. I put it in my bag. Immediately, a pen pierces it, covers my laptop in Diet Coke, and breaks the 2 USB ports and the charging port on my laptop. Again, this is the day before Glastonbury. I'm like, oh my God, all of my stuff has just been like destroyed or stolen. Oh my God, it was such a palaver. And then that's that laptop that needed water poured onto it. The power randomly started working, but the USB ports never did, which, as you can imagine, is a massive problem. But the processing on it was so good. Like, it just had a bit too much. It had too many battles.
Do you find you ever hit a limit now when you're producing in terms of like track limits or plugin limits? Do you ever encounter that?
I'm not hitting track limits, but processing, honestly, after 5 channels. So DAW-wise, I'm Logic. And I stand by Logic. It's done me good my whole life, like, other than Cubase 5. But I never had so much latency so early on in a project. Like, I literally have to just like mute everything. And then I love UAD. So like, currently I have an Arrow, which I will talk about in a
for your audience face, yeah.
But so I'm running the UAD stuff as well, and like an outboard, or just like plugins and everything, and it just was not a problem on my other laptop. And this one just like the literal tracking is off by so much. Like, it's not just like the delay that you're hearing, like the actual tracking is off by like half a second. I'm not even talking about a minute. Like, I'm talking about half a second. I have to fully move it over by like a quarter of a bar sometimes.
That sounds unbearable.
It is, and I don't really know what to do about it. So, and I've done like different processing efficiencies, deleting plugins that may be slowing it down.
So the only way to figure it out really is uninstall everything and install one by one until it starts doing it. Yeah,
but obviously it's like you can't, oh my God, like, it was such a faff to even just get all my plugins over from the other laptop onto the new one. Like, oh my God. Yeah, anyway, I'm having a bit of a mare with that. I didn't actually realise. Wow, thank you for making a space for me to talk about that.
Stressed you out.
Yeah.
So, but selecting your audience face, you're going to choose the one you've got right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why I would pick this one for the current stage of my life is because I don't...
And forever.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, for your current stage of life, tell us though.
Okay, well, maybe I would go for like an Apollo then instead.
But tell us about why the Arrow for now.
Well, I don't normally track more than 2 channels at once, so because I'm just doing songwriting, right? So like, I have actually really recently got into plugging my electric guitar in and then miking the electric guitar, and then putting auto-tune, keeping the mic far away and putting auto-tune on the mic'd channel of the guitar, and he makes this really interesting, and then you pan it and you get a really wide guitar sound like straight away. So you
hard tuning it, sort of like
like I just
T-Painy type.
Yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
And because then it creates like a slight phasing effect, like whilst it does that. So anyway, that's just something I've just been trying out recently.
Cool. That's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it came from me just wanting to record and sing at the same time, just so that I was recording an idea down, and then I just didn't sing, and then I listened, and then because I had auto-tune on because I was meant to be singing, and then I was like, that sounds incredible. Like, that sounds so cool. So
one of those studio happy accidents.
Yeah,
Phil Collins style.
Love it.
Yeah, so you'll hear that in the next songs that come out. But
so is that on the amp? You're miking the amp, or are you just miking the strings on the guitar?
Like bear in mind it's an electric guitar, so it's not got that much resonance, but it just it's got like this different top end that was just really nice to play with.
Be interesting to do with an electroacoustic though, wouldn't it? Have the DI.
I did it as well. I do it with my. Then I was like, oh, I should have an electroacoustic.
Yeah. Same
All right.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, your idea was original.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it made like the thickest guitar wall that I had made, but not overpowering. You know, like when a guitar wall can just become too much, but it's like the tones felt good because the mic also was quite high, so it wasn't getting a lot of the low frequency out of the guitar. It was just getting this upper frequency, so it had a lot of brightness to it. So
quite spacey and weird as well with that auto-tune pulling
Those
stuff around.
artifacts.
So it's different. But the reason why I specifically like the Arrow is I know that there's other interfaces that have done this, but I've not used other ones that do this. I love it's like facing you, like rather than it being like a thin 1U like moment. So it's got a big knob on it, but also I love the fact that you just smash it and it just mutes what's coming through. So if you're having feedback or anything, it's so obvious what to do. You just go dunk and it just like mutes it. I find that the actual like interface usability is perfect. I feel like I'm hacking the mainframe. It's like, we want to, use that microphone for something. I'm literally just like do, and then it's like the phantom power is going to the right channel and to the right thing, and like I find it we need to pad this really quickly. It's like it has literally the buttons you want it to have that you could possibly ever need, but not too many options. Like it's just like you've got phase problem, like we'll just change the polarity. Like it's just like I love it.
And bus powered as well.
Yeah. And this is where it was really interesting live, because I'm also an MD. The
musical director
yeah.
Managing director.
Yeah. Of Charlieeeee Deakin Davies Limited. I guess I am, actually. It's actually my company.
Like, on your tax return.
Yeah, literally.
Double MD.
Yeah. But because I won't go into the detail of like live auto-tune and stuff like that, but often when you get into slightly more pro situations, instead of like just running it straight through your laptop, you have a separate interface, and the Arrow is perfect because it does the onboard processing for like if you want to put like the auto-tune into that. I use the Anteros one usually. It's got no latency, and it's because it's bus powered, it's just like easy peasy. I mean, I recommend getting a twin over the Arrow, really, because in that setting, because basically you don't want any reason for the interface to cut out, or like the laptop to do something weird and then it cut out, because you need the audio to still carry on going through the unit. Because if you had a twin, at least it would be on bypass, but it's not on bypass on the Arrow, because if the power's cut out, it's gone. So the auto-tune would stop, but at least the vocal would still come through. Anyway, but it's such a throw in your bag thing. Like I'm someone, again, I've said earlier, like I don't want this strict line between studio and just creativity, and so having an interface that is just a plug and play, super easy to use, I love it. Like it's so good.
All right, well, we've got those locked in.
Yeah, so we're on to our
6 studio items. So item number 1,
I think an essential is a life-size cutout of Shrek.
That isn't technically a studio item.
Not if you don't try hard enough.
Okay, look, I'm gonna put
a note
for later.
Item.
We can come back to Shrek, but why?
I think it's important to bring humour to the studio space. I think it's important to make sure things aren't serious, and conversation starters are always welcome.
Should we park Shrek for now?
Okay, fine.
Right.
Okay.
So you've got a MacBook Pro, a UAD Arrow, and Logic Pro.
But
first item.
Before we get to that, you said how important it is to bring humour to the studio. Like that feels like a big. It's really in your music. You can really hear the humour in your music.
Thank you.
And a lot of people take the studio very seriously, and a lot of these sort of the big studios, you can go in there and feel, we're doing something really serious. And what you were saying before about making it so that it's sort of a non-studio.
Yeah.
Like, how important do you think that is for the people coming into the studio and for them knowing that you're something different when, in terms of a producer working with them? How does that work?
I'm going to add to that. And did you have to do that when you were, using Audacity and working with folk musicians? Because you must have it must have been quite difficult in that situation, because you want to come across as serious, because you're literally just approaching people and saying, hey, let me record your music. But they've never been recorded before, a lot of them, so you don't want them to make them feel...
I would say that I feel like I started more pro and then have learnt what was useful about that, and then what you don't need to, like what I wanted to unlearn from it as well. But it's also just really useful to have the skill sets. Like some sessions it's really appropriate. You need to be very professional, like people are expecting a certain service. And then other times you need to be more creative. And I think one of the biggest differentiators for me is the session, if whether or not I'm producing something specific and engineering something specific, or if I'm doing a writing session and we're like coming up with ideas. So like in the writing production space, like when I do writing production sessions, that's when I want it to be just really silly. But then if I'm like, okay, we're doing a vocal tracking day today, like I want it to be fun, but we need to, like, you can't keep laughing into the mic, so I need to not make you laugh.
Yeah, and I guess if you make it fun on a writing session, you're trying to let people feel loose, like they can say anything, and those ideas will eke out.
And something we talked about before we were recording is the difference in studio vibe pre and post COVID as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel that's changed?
That's true.
Yeah, well, again, I think like a really interesting element of it is like before COVID and the lockdown and everything, I think we still lived in the older age of traditional engineering. So like you would have the process of being an assistant, or, literally being like a tea person, then to being an assistant and doing all of this stuff up. And it just, the only variable is the amount of time you spend there will be, and when someone resigns will be the only reason you can go up in the chain, or you have to move studios or find out someone else has resigned here or there or whatever. And then with production, it's slightly less clear, but you would still maybe learn under somebody else and learn how to like go up that way. But I have always done things differently. Like even going to the open mics and just finding people and just telling people I'm a producer. I mean, that was like a huge thing. I'm just like, I'm a producer, and they're like, all right, kid, like kind of stuff. And then they would listen and they'd be like, oh damn, actually, yeah, they are a producer, like kind of thing. But I think there was that energy, and then what it meant is when I was pretty young coming up through this, my peers were all in their late 20s, early 30s, and I was significantly younger than everyone, because I was like the youngest Music Producers Guild member as well, because I joined when I was 17. And like that whole world really taught me a lot of etiquette, a lot of expectations, a lot of attitudes to why people who were older would have a certain way about how things should be done. And I think it's been very interesting post-pandemic, because I think the amount of self-producing artists and just bedroom producers has like exploded beyond belief. Like I definitely think it's maybe like 5 to 10 times more producers than there was, because of the fact that it's so accessible now and equipment is so much easier to get. Like you don't need more than a laptop, a 2x2 and headphones and like a microphone. You just don't. Like, and it's proven, but it's like, I think it puts into question of like, why do studios exist? What is the ethos behind it? What were the advantages of that time period? And I feel very lucky, because I'm 29 now, that I got to see this other era, because there was a magic to it. There was a magic in collaboration. There was a professionalism. There was this like, like amazing prestige you felt about being in these studios and understanding who came in before and why they were there. And I think it's been very nice to start sharing that energy with younger producers that I work with, because they just have no context on that. Like, and why would they? They don't need to. They're producing tracks that are doing a lot better than mine. Like, it's not one way's not better than the other. But like, I do think that there were some really nice things about that time period, and it's, sharing that, even though I did not follow the path anyway.
Yeah. So still self-taught, still doing it off your own bat, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
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 That's such an interesting point, though, about people who have been producing through COVID, not having any of that context, and going, this is how it can work as well if you're collaborating.
Yeah. Well, I think it's nice, because we live in an incredibly casual era, and I think that's really nice. I think people are much more free. I think ideas come up more easily and things like that. But I also think that there was something about getting a buzz off stuff. There was something about being a bit nervous before the studio. And I'm not saying people don't get nervous before going to the studio now, but there was something about like, oh, like I would get like a moment before I was like, I've got an artist coming in today. Like it's like a big deal. And obviously I've just got older and I've done it a million times now. It's not got the same thing. But when I'm then doing a bigger session, like say I am at Strong Room or I'm in the main room at 1087 or something, and I've got an artist coming in because I've like decided to go for a bigger studio for that session, it is like, ooh, and I think bedroom producers don't get that feeling.
There's that mystique with the gear as well, like that we've had, you know, people have talked about before with like going to record a vocal at a studio knowing that XYZ person has sung through that microphone. And it's like I'm stood in the same spot in the same, and it can give you a certain...
There's magic in the walls sort of thing, or in this piece of gear,
Yeah. I mean, like we had it with the TCC, which is the Trans Creative Collective. We ended up launching because we did a collaboration with Abbey Road for Trans Day of Visibility in like 2022 or something, which is, I think it might have been in 2021. It was like really long time ago, like in I don't know, lots happened, right?
Yeah.
But there was a moment where like Andrea was singing into like the mic that Amy Winehouse had used for this recording, and it was just like on the piano, and all of these other amazing people, and it was just like there is an energy. There is an energy in studios. This is a point. There is a purpose to this space being like this, and it literally, I don't know, it literally gives me chills. Like it's like there is something so special about it, and because I love engineering and I love like the progression of everything. I think people don't realize how young the music industry is and the recording music industry is as well. Like people act like it's this institution, and it's like the contemporary music industry is about 8 years old, and then like, or like really like 4 or 5 if you count like post-pandemic. But also like the actual process of recording music is not it's like one generation. Like, you know, like our grandparents were around when the first recordings were happening. Like I don't know, and I think there's something special, especially places like Abbey Road and some of the older studios, because it's like they've had to keep up with the technology every time. Like we always have to keep up with what's going on.
Without losing that magic.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you have places and ways that things were recorded that like they're never going to be recorded like that again, and it's like, wow, it's like a time capsule. So anyway, wow, I'm really passionate about studios.
You said the contemporary music industry is only a few years old.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, literally the amount of self-producing artists completely changed the way that engineering and production works in the commercial space. Like you just don't need producers, like hardly at all. You still need mix engineers, like they're probably the mastering and mix engineers are probably more useful, but like God, like being a producer is like, it's really relevant because a lot of the artists that are emerging don't know how to produce, but you have to be very good to stay in the scene, because also if an artist can produce the music themselves, they're not going to pick a song they kind of like that they co-wrote with someone. They're going to pick the song they love that they did themselves. And so it's like, I think it's forced producers to be a lot more innovative, but I think it's put a weird pressure on us as well. Like I don't work on that many like full-time projects now because everyone's working with a different producer or working with themselves, or they just need help with this one thing, where before it used to be like, oh, I used to get this like, I mean, I think I'm going to get it again. Like because I then deviated into musical direction for a while and then I became an artist. I just haven't had this in a long time, but I love sitting down with an artist before we've started recording anything and going like, what are we doing? What is the energy? What are we trying to achieve? And then like know it,
rather than you being brought in as somebody who is great at a certain specific thing that they're struggling with, top line or harmonies or guitar or like
it's something I just love it, and knowing that you're like, this month is dedicated to this artist, and it still happens and stuff, but I think to hire it's so expensive, right? Like to hire a producer specifically to just categorically produce an album, it does happen, but it's not the same. It's just not the same as it back in my day.
But it is like when, you know, people say, you know, the credits on albums and the amount of people involved in it, it's for that reason, because they work for one song or parts of a song. It's not, you know, or just the vocal or tiny little things. So the end project it's full of lots of different people with lots of different skill sets, whereas it used to just be the producer.
Yeah, literally.
is going to make the artist's vision come to life on budget.
Yeah. On budget.
Yeah, on budget.
Yeah. I mean, like, even I would say one of the other biggest expectations as well is like, you do need to be an incredibly good mix engineer as a producer. Like you always did, but before, like, you would be okay if you sent a bit of a rough mix out because people were like, don't worry, the mix engineer is going to mix it.
Yeah.
But now, like at the end of the day, I mean, I know this I think what I'm probably experiencing is the upper professional level of this because I was in an intermediate professionalism before the pandemic. But yeah, the song needs to get done that day, the whole song.
Yeah.
And the artist may have been having an off day that day. You still have to get you might be having an off day. The whole thing needs to be fully produced so that no one has to use their imagination at any stage of what that song sounds like. And it needs to sound like it could get released tomorrow because you're battling against other people that can do that. Like the level of production skill has gone up so exponentially in the past 5 years.
Well, it's the same as even if you're trying to break through as an artist early on, to anybody listening to this that's trying to do that. It used to be, a demo on a cassette or a CD, or it was a demo. The word demo doesn't really exist anymore.
No.
Like, if you're approaching a label, it's like, is it finished? Well, you can't go to them and go, well, I just want your help. No. Let us know when it's done. And then we might talk about, working together.
Yeah, I mean, like, I won't go, this is like one of my special interests, I won't go into it too much, but like even just the music industry as a whole, like even one of the biggest changes that happened with Universal and the massive mergers last year and stuff like that, the knock-on effect has been absolutely massive, like actually in the production and the artist world. Like again, because I'm a signed artist to Sony, so I am seeing it from that side, but I'm also an active producer writer as well, so I'm seeing it from the other side and an MD. So I feel like I've got a bird's eye view on like what's happening in the major label industry at the moment, and it's I don't think it's scary. I think some people are scared, but I also, again, because I like music industry history, I'm like, don't worry, this is just the analog to digital transition. This is just the like record to tape transition. Like, don't worry, like we're just having one of those. Like,
but along the way, lots of people fall out of the way of that.
Yeah.
Like, tape ops, tape operators, and lots of people amongst the business. That's why it's scary for some people because they don't know whether they're going to be on the chopping block of these changes.
And is that the scariness, do you think, that people are feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want to have a big chat about AI, but obviously AI is like the next chapter of this whole thing.
But people had that fear when synthesizers came.
Yeah, and you literally, or just the fact that you could have doors. Like,
you don't need an orchestra anymore.
Yeah.
Musicians Union, they're not going to hire the orchestra because they can do it on a keyboard.
Exactly, yeah.
And that did happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter like that. Well, it matters. I'm not saying that it's an unfounded fear. Change is about to happen and change is happening. Change always happens. And when you choose to work in an industry that is on the front line of innovation of technology and media consumption and just social culture, I think it's like the highest changing technology and cultural thing that there is. So I think people need to go in eyes wide open if they've chosen that career. Yeah, it's scary. Your job might get taken away, but like work with it. Like, can you use AI? Can you do this stuff? I don't know. You'll have me on the podcast in like 10 years and I'll be like, I'm homeless and we never managed to like get back on my feet after that podcast.
Item number 1.
A bundle of sticks. Sorry, I just...
Okay.
No bundles.
Yeah,
No bundles.
You were a bit
get out of the way.
You're a bit slow on the trigger there, Will.
Yeah, I was.
Feel like that was a test to see how quick you are.
It was a test, wasn't it? I failed.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't fail.
It's
You're on
okay.
your own path.
Yeah.
I can see how nice it'd be being in the studio.
Over philosophical.
Yeah.
ATC speakers would be like my first choice.
Which ones?
I've put down the SEM 45Cs, but I don't have like an emotional attachment to that name. It's just the ones that are at 1087. And
We don't have any emotional attachment to any speaker names because they're always mental.
I don't want to be misquoted that it's that one, but I wrote that down. You know an NS10 and like you know what I mean. There's some, but like I don't know the model.
But it's got out of
specifically.
hand now, hasn't it? SCM 45A, 45C, 45 Pro.
45. Yeah, the A's are the actives, I think. But the C's, I think it's a great speaker.
Are they big?
ATCs are great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Big ones. Not the massive ones.
Not
the ones
humongous.
down from the massive ones.
Yeah, like the sort of not quite near field, sort of
Midfield.
midfields.
Yeah. I had
two speakers.
Actually, three drives and a tweeter.
But they're that kind of focal 6B shaped, as in they're
they're on the
sideways
side.
from the traditional
sideways.
speaker.
Yeah. Big.
That's how you know they're
So-
serious, isn't it?
What?
Do you not remember that? Like, I always think of that when I was growing up. Like, if somebody had their speakers on the side, it's like, oh, this studio now. Like the NS10 style.
It's
Yeah.
not hi-fi, it's a studio.
Yeah. Hi-fi.
Yeah.
Studio.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's good. It's good shorthand.
I thought you were a professional.
Yeah.
God.
Get your speakers on the side. This is a studio.
So,
Yeah.
And now they make them custom sideways like that. So, so if anybody comes in, they go, oh, you make music. You've got your speakers on the side.
when you say custom make them, you mean flip the badge 90 degrees?
Yeah. No, yes. Yes.
That's it. That's the one change.
Yeah, you can do that yourself. And it makes them look more pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your journey with ATCs then, why these ones?
So they have them at 1087. So
Okay.
that is where I got a lot of exposure, and then they also have them at Strong Room as well. So
Yes, they do.
there's 3 studios. Well, there's 4 studios. I spent a lot of 5 studios. Okay, I've been in a few studios, like consistently. Obviously, I've been in like loads, but like the ones I consistently worked in. So at 1087, I'm just in the big room a lot there. I actually have like a pair of Genelecs. I have the 1030As currently. And I had KRKs before that, which did me great.
Yeah.
Not on their side, though, are they?
They're not on their side.
Just
Oh, come on. Well, looks like I'm going to be doing that later. And then I had some just massive Adams when I worked at a different private studio. I don't know, I'm torn between Genelecs and ATCs, basically. We've also got some massive PMCs as well at 1087, but I don't want massive speakers. I want speakers that sound like the song, so I can actually like...
Okay. You find big speakers over...
Yeah, they're just, especially because I do drum and bass, so it's like, it feels amazing, but I'm not able to produce the song accurately in this space, where ATCs, I just feel like are telling you what is actually the audio information that's happening. And although like I'm not necessarily always mixing stuff, as I said, like the song needs to sound mixed, like even if it is or isn't officially mixed. So I just find they're like the clearest, and they've got really nice bass on them for not having subs and stuff. So like, yeah.
Locked in.
Nice. Good choice. Your music, it's, as you say, drum, bass, jungle, like, wouldn't be tempted to have something bigger just to kind of blast it?
I think, yes. Like I would...
Soffit
like that. I mean, if
mounted.
I had two sets of speakers, I'd probably get the PMCs. Like as the absolute massive. Just
You could have 2 sets. You've got 6
I
items.
know, but I've written down. I've already got like 11. I feel like,
Okay, right. Yeah. Well,
Okay. Well, then let's lock those
Lock those
ATCs in. 'Cause
Yeah.
You were quite instinctive about it as well.
Yeah.
So, item number 2.
I've got the guitar I currently have, which is a thin line Fender Telecaster.
Nice.
It's got double humbuckers on it, and I personally feel like it's got the widest range of tone. So I can get the like tinny like Telecaster like sound, but then also I get the like chug of the double humbuckers as well. It's the guitar I've had since I was 17, so I have like an emotional attachment, and it's also from the 90s as well. So it's like, I don't know, I just really like it. The pickups are kind of broken now, but I don't want to get them recoiled because I'm just like...
You might lose something with it.
There's something about it that I'm enjoying. So, I think that's quite fundamental. I mean, like, the thing is, I've been doing this long enough. I guess I have a dream studio to the extent of, like, I've got what I need.
Yeah.
Because, like, the other thing is I've worked in all these other studios.
But we can dial it up now. We can
I can make better versions of everything I've got. But, like, from working in these big studios and then having my own studio again, I'm just like, because I've had my own studio for 4.5 years now that is in London. I have obviously had the den, as we called it, which was the shed, but this one is like, okay, what do I want, like, kind of thing. And I don't want a lot of stuff. I want a lot of guitars. I have 5 guitars and like different instruments in there because I want more options for tone. But gear wise, I'm not running a lot of stuff. Most of the time the vocals get retracked in a different studio anyway, so it's like I don't need that much outboard. But that being said,
Okay.
That being
said. So we got the thin line Fender Telecaster.
yeah,
Okay. So item number 3.
I've got Shadow Hill Industry compressor, but like I've only used the 500 series one. But is there a rack version of it, or is it just 500 series?
There is a big rack one.
Oh,
yeah.
is there?
The mastering compressor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
£10,000 worth of kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want.
So yeah, people watching and listening might be able to recognise it from the UA plugin, right?
Yes. Well, you tell us about it.
It was used in a vocal chain. I wasn't using it as a mastering thing. I was using it like in the chain.
Oh.
I loved it.
Right.
In the 500 series or
Yeah.
the plugin. Okay, it's 500.
But I think I love excessively over-compressed vocals because I guess an honourable mention on this. I know there's a limit. I can only pick 6 things, but one of them is just the Devil Lock Deluxe. I put on vocal chains, and it is so good. It is so good. I think because I work in pop music, so vocals are traditionally really, really compressed. And if you don't have the option of having a proper U67 into like a Neve, like if you don't have the option to have that chain, but you want that really like rich compressed tone, like the Devil Lock Deluxe is amazing for it. So I think I was essentially using this compressor to do that kind of
do that same job.
Yeah.
So it does it better than the plugin, you would say?
I know how to use the plugin better than I did the outboard gear.
But you've got forever to learn this.
So the 500 series that you used seems like it's a cross between the mastering compressor and the Optograph channel compressor. Is it a channel compressor? Unclear. But a bit of both. So do you want to go for the big mastering compressor then? And you can sort of use it as the...
Yeah, I mean, I guess
As a channel compressor?
I guess my thought process is the one I've used. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't mind a lunchbox, and then I could start having some 500 series stuff. Massive. Oh my god! All right.
No, okay.
Or can that be an item? Can the lunchbox be one of my?
Yeah,
It could be an item. I think
it'd be empty though, wouldn't it?
Do you know what? I
With
think
just
we've-
this.
Yeah. I think we have allowed the power supply for a lunchbox if you have one lunchbox item.
Yeah.
That is one item.
I mean, you
to
could
get
fill it
that.
up with the other items, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the Shadow Hills, the one that you know, as opposed to the big...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think I like the thought of having some 500 series stuff in general.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we've got the Shadow Hills Industries Dual Vandergraaf 500 series.
That's the
And
one.
the power supply lunchbox for it.
Yeah.
You're bundling that, you will.
I would say it's merely a...
It's quite a practical thing. What am I going to do with just the like card insert bit of the back of the...
Exactly.
Okay, fine, fair.
Just get a soldering iron and, work some stuff out.
Yeah.
But...
Tape an XLR to it, I don't know. Like...
So you were talking about Devil Lock before then.
Yeah.
Don't you find that distorts the vocals
Yes.
a bunch?
Not a bunch, just
Not a bunch.
enough. So, again, I think because a lot of the baseline of what I'm producing is to get stuff over the line. And I think we live in an incredibly, like, compression and saturated vocal era at the moment, like, very close to the mic and very, like, present. And I feel like just putting Devil Lock Deluxe default setting just straight on that channel just literally does so much, because a lot of the time you need to be able to feel good about what you're tracking immediately, and if you play back what you've just heard, the artist needs to hear something that sounds good straight away. I'm not saying it's the best vocal chain in the world, because there's so many other things that you can do, but again, if you're trying to do low processing, quick turnaround, immediately sounding good, it just does.
And Devil Lock is Sound Toys, right? Just for
Yeah.
people
That's right,
listening in.
yeah.
So it's pretty accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
Unlike the Shadow Hills.
Unlike the Shadow Hills.
The Shadow
Yes.
Hills is quite fancy, right? But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about $3,000 for that 500
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Fantasy
So-
Studio.
Yeah, Fantasy Studio, that's what I'm saying. So, but I think I would use that in the context of the Devil Lock, because it would do this harder compression thing. The other thing as well is, again, we live in an incredibly fast-paced producer world right now, that the artist doesn't have time to work out how they're going to sing, like how big they're going to sing some notes, how quiet they're going to sing other notes, like immediately. Like you might come back and do a retracking session, but in that initial one, they don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so it's really good to just have something that's just going to capture everything and make everything consistently sound good, like to a degree. Because my vocal chain digitally, I mean, again, this is a free item, so I don't know if this counts as like Dream Studio or whatever. It's the M Auto pitch,
Oh, yes, yeah.
which is just the standard free thing. I learned.
Is it Melda Audio or
Yeah,
something?
it is.
Melda Audio.
It's not a free item, but yeah.
But free is it?
Oh, free in the world.
Yeah,
Not
so-
in the context of the forever.
No,
studio.
of course not. That would be dumb. Like,
I can't deal with any more rule bending.
Yeah,
There's
sorry,
no free
I'm-
here.
again, I'm someone who got kicked out of school. I don't play by the books. But yeah, that. So I mean, like, yeah, just my favorite chain, just really quickly, in just Logic is EQ. Just use the Logic EQ, just dip off some of the bass. The auto tune, obviously put it to whatever key you want. Devil Lock, and then Echo Boy, Junior, default, all of them.
What delay time are you doing?
The default, like
just
what it comes in at.
right.
I normally just turn the mix down a bit. That quickest way to just get like something that sounds really legit immediately in a session, and it's not hard on the processing either. And so you can duplicate the channel quite a few times, like, and it's okay.
Nice.
Yeah, like I'm talking inserts, no buses, inserts, like straight up. Yeah.
Love that.
And you have that as a preset as well, so you can just be like, bang, channel strip preset,
Yeah.
Nice.
I've like released music with that chain, like lots of music with that chain.
That's a top tip.
That's a great tip, yeah.
Item number 4.
Okay. I have a funny microphone choice.
Please.
And then I should have just said it and not told you it was funny. Do you
now we go, don't laugh. Well,
No. Well, it's only funny if you know what the microphone looks like. Do you know the Neumann KU100? Because this would be my dream microphone in the studio. I think it'd be so funny.
Oh, yeah, the head.
Oh, the dummy head. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the binaural head for people listening.
The binaural head. Imagine in the middle of the studio, there's just, you walk in and it's just that mic.
We've had it actually before, maybe not as a vocal mic, but we've had it before, I think, on the podcast selection, right? For people going out and doing binaural stuff.
I think we have. Isn't the dummy called Fritz?
No.
I think the dummy has a name. I'm pretty sure the dummy head has a name. I might have invented that. I've maybe I've invented that. Sorry.
That's so fair. But I imagine, I've never obviously used it. It's a like £10,000 microphone. Like this is my forever studio.
It's a stereo binaural thing, so it's got microphones in the ears.
And it's got them in the head as well.
Oh, has it?
It's got the one in the back. It's like I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but it's definitely got them in the head and the ears.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
I just want to capture the experience of a song, right? I'd be so curious if someone did use that as a vocal mic, like sung at the dummy as if they were singing at it. Like, how would that actually sound? Like
in rap, like a rap battle, it'd be quite good, wouldn't it?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Could dress it as your enemy.
Oh my god, you could do a duet, but like, oh my god,
or a duet, dress it as somebody like yeah.
I assume this must have been done like a group of people standing around it. Like obviously, because obviously you can put mics on Omni, but it's not the same. Like this is like different.
Or you could get your earbuds, that classic one, like, and use it the opposite way around. If you've never done that for binaural cheaply, you can do that.
I've never done that. No.
So just use your earbuds and then invert the signal so they go from speakers to being microphones.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
And then you put them in your ears, but the opposite way. And then you are the head. So you could do that.
Oh my god, I'm going to do that.
Then you could invite people to be the microphone. As a session. Well, thanks for inviting me to your session. Yeah, I've got some bad news. You're the microphone.
That feels like a weird Patreon
and they could open their mouth just to get different reflections.
Yeah.
Really thinking about
Can
it.
you imagine can you imagine if like I'm the producer on the session, I'm like, I'm just going to get the microphone set up. I just put headphones in and then I just stand directly in front of them.
Really close.
Yeah, you're like, okay, do the take now.
And you open your mouth, you're just going to add some more reverb. You can sing right into my mouth.
Like, don't worry, I'll put darker sunglasses on. You won't see me.
Just a normal thing. Just a normal studio stuff. Mm-hmm. It is called Fritz, by the way.
Well done.
Thank you.
Jokes aside, it's an amazing microphone, right? And it's like the industry standard for all the kind of binaural recordings and
Yeah.
Are we locking it in? Or is that just a joke?
Well, now we're talking about it. It was a joke originally, I love a cheap laugh or a very expensive laugh in this case. But like, I actually think I would really like it. I think it would really challenge me in the same way like when I recorded that guitar with the other stuff. Like I'd be really I think I would try some interesting things out with a different mic.
It seems really strange, but actually it makes loads of sense because it's that engineering trick, isn't it? It's like, how do I know where to put the microphones? Well, you hold the microphone by and that's when it sounds good to you, it's going to sound good to the microphone. And actually, if you've got a head, it's like where your head is, okay, just put it there, and then it's going to sound good because it sounded good in my ears. Yeah. For recording gigs or live musicians, it must be really cool.
Yeah.
Must be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we locking in Fritz?
Yeah.
Locked in.
Love it.
Item number 5.
Okay. I've got Old Blood Noise reflector pedal. I've already got it, but
I don't know what this is. So
they are incredible. They're so good. I genuinely I think it's really nice when you have a bit of gear that has like a lot of range to it, but it's very simple, but you can change up a lot of what you're doing. Like it has like the reflector has like different reverbs, delays, like pitch ups, like all of this stuff, but there's only 4 knobs, and so it's like you just gotta like find your right combo. But it's got like, I don't know, it's just really nice. The flat light as well is really good.
Flat light.
Flat light.
It's a chorus.
Yeah, essentially, I guess. But
Oh, okay.
It's a weird reflector, but it's a chorus. But I guess
I've never thought of it as a chorus though.
Oh, really? What do you use it
I
as,
use
then?
it for like reverbs and like weird sounds and stuff. It's good. I think the upper limit of what it can, as in like the upper limit is really high. So if you put everything at max, like it's really different, like kind of stuff.
so. That's when you start getting longer reflections. Hence the reflector.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And at smaller reflections, you get a chorusing effect.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. But those, I mean, I know that they're not a lot of bundles, so I'll just pick one of them. But like, that one and the flat light as well is like really good. I just like something that I can put in quite easily.
How much are we talking for this pedal, by the way? Just like
No longer in production, but on Reverb, you're looking at about
Not that.
200 quid.
they're not crazy.
Yeah,
they're not crazy.
I didn't buy it for that much.
Quite expensive for a guitar pedal nowadays, but
Yeah.
it's a premium one.
Yeah.
Doable. Yeah.
I really like stuff. So I really like, with my studio setups, the core elements to be as simple as physically possible. Like just bam, bam, bam. Like I don't want any faff around the core essential of recording. But then I love having really fun post-processing stuff. So I also recently got Beam by Lunacy Audio. It does so much stuff. So for instance, like you could play a chord and it will make this incredible orchestra of sound, and it's so good for like warping sounds, making effects. So if you're like playing a little guitar riff or something, you can then just like put it through this and it will just make something that you've never heard before. Like, because obviously that's like when you're trying to find innovative palettes and stuff like that, you do hit walls, and when you've already used all your gear and the essential elements fine or like good or whatever, it's like, what do you do to make something more interesting? And so I find plugins like that are really good. So I don't like unique ways of doing compression. I want a compressor, and then I want something weird. Like,
Yeah,
I
Makes
get
sense.
it. Yeah. Are you picking that as one of your items?
Well, I wasn't going to because, an essential one for me is Little Altar Boy. That was actually on my like plugins list.
Okay.
I mean,
So
at this
final
point-
item.
Oh my god! For context, for the other microphone I actually had was the Soyuz, like 017 model. Have you seen that
nice.
one?
Yeah,
the gold
yeah.
one.
Yeah, beautiful.
That was one of the nicest mics I'd used, because the chain I used, the context was I had that microphone into a Manly massive passive,
Right.
into a Manly Vox box,
Yeah.
into the Shadow Industries compressor, then into Logic, and I was like, oh my god, like what? Wow, like
That's quite a high-end chain, isn't it?
yeah, it's just
Soyuz, quite modern company,
Yes. Yeah.
but
I think-
made to look vintage.
I think made in Russia, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The guys who do that, there's an American chap and a Russian guy, and they started a business. And I think it's old tool makers that make them.
They are beautiful. I think again, there's something like we're saying about like the older school stuff, that there was something about things looking cool that made you feel like
Yeah.
more like drawn
Well, that's
to
everything in the world, isn't it?
it. Yeah.
Would you go for the tube one or the FET? Because they have two versions.
I have used both. I felt the FET was much easier to use. Again, I think I'm quite into a slightly more cleaner initial input signal to then mess up. So, like
Getting it. Well, that kind of comes from what you were saying about the recordings back in
Yeah.
the shed. It's like get it right on the way in, and then
Yeah.
I'm fine. Then I can use my
yeah,
tools.
I find the FET is just cleaner, and I just had less genuine tube problems with it, because I also recorded loads with U47 FET as well, like loads of acoustic guitar stuff, and I found the tone was like a bit more dull than I wanted, but the tube version was way more duller, and so like I preferred the FET version of it. And then same, like I was using a U67, and I currently now have a Warm Audio U67 model. Like
It's funny that I think
Nice.
some people go into recordings with a fetish for like the kind of vintage.
fetish.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, no. Well, this is the thing: a fetish for valve and vintage and all of the, and then end up EQing and processing
Yeah.
it to sound like the recording. Oh, it's not bright enough. You know, just use the tool that gets you that sound. And
Yeah.
it might not be as cool, or if it's not
Yeah.
vintage, but
Yeah.
that's actually the sound you want is of software or is of a clean amp. And
Yeah.
you don't want all the hum and buzz.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I don't want to be cleaning up the signal. I just want the signal to be correct.
Yeah.
And I want it to sound good. Like, I do like warmth. I do like the thing. I don't want it to be like bad.
But it needs to be appropriate for the sound you're going for,
Yeah.
rather than doing it because you've been taught that vintage is better or tube is better or analog is better.
I think it was an interesting one for my transition from folk into pop as well, because I was at very early stages when I was doing folk music, so I didn't have exposure to tube stuff, which I think would have been more appropriate. Like,
but would it?
Well, I don't
think.
well,
Maybe the reason you got radio play and all of that, who knows? Because you approached it for the song.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had a clean production style. That was like my thing. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one. And I understand a lot more about valves and everything like that. But when I had access in these studios to use any microphone, any outboard gear, I still chose the FETs. I still chose the straight chains. Obviously, that particular one I was talking about with the Soyuz mic, I didn't use that one very often. That was just one time I tried that and I was like, oh my God. In my artist project as Charlieeeee, it's essentially me, but when I perform live, I love doing live drum and bass and jungle. So my primary drummer is a drummer called Maxi Cheer, and they are amazing. Maxi has been on the recording of my music. So essentially when I make the Charlieeeee thing, which is the drum and bass with guitars and stuff like that, I do use samples and loops to sort of make the song, get that energy, translate it into something. But then I actually go to the studio and I re-record all the breakbeats. Well, I don't. The Maxi goes in and re-records all of the breakbeats on top of it so that I have this natural sound. And one of the really big things I care about a lot in songwriting and production is dynamic building. And when you're just using breakbeats, you can't really do that. You can do it through EQ and reverb and stuff, but you can't get that energy of a person playing the drums bigger and quieter and stuff like that. So on my Dogbolt EP, which came out last year, which was the first EP I put out as Charlieeeee, we did a really interesting drum technique where we got two drummers facing each other. So one was Maxi and the other was Chrissy Lopez, and we mic'd up the whole drum kits and everything like that. And I have a song called Nervous Energy that's at 200 BPM. And it's full jungle, kind of drum beat. So what we did was we got Maxi to play the fundamentals, like the proper drum and bass, just and then we got Chrissy to play all of this, basically the toppers, all the jungle toppers and everything. And then we recorded that in at once with both. And it's a bold move to do because again, maybe multi-tracking would have been better, but there's something about hearing the double cymbals in the room, hearing this energy again. It's I like doing stuff that's a bit different to create different tones and stuff. So
it's going to sound loads different to just layering samples.
Yeah, because I even liked hearing Chrissy's overheads in Maxi's drum kit and stuff like that. There was it was different ways of mixing stuff off. So I didn't let Maxi play any cymbals, and then Chrissy wasn't allowed to do any kick drum, and so it was then I could merge the sounds together. And then
and when you were mixing, did you have to mute microphones or did you just let stuff run?
I mixed it with Alex Evans, who's a really good mix engineer, but we did mute a lot of stuff. It was ridiculous. It was 17 channels.
So, so you had to go in and sort of perform the mix a little bit as well, or automate the mix.
So actually what ended up happening was I got all the drum stems initially. I then made a rough version so it wasn't overwhelming with the palette, and then I think I condensed it down to 6 channels, and then I sent that, and that was my choice. I comped everything, added everything together, and then I gave that to Alex, and Alex then mixed it into the track a bit more.
Nice.
And when they were facing each other, were they?
Yeah.
So did you have to flip one drum kit to the perspective of one drum kit so they would lay over each other better?
I guess maybe that's probably what we did. I just had both the kits facing each other, and then we must have done something with the left and right. I didn't engineer the session.
Ah, okay, right.
Sanj, who works at 1087, engineered it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Obviously, I was involved in picking the microphones and stuff like that. But I don't know what we did. We didn't have any phase cancellation problems, so whatever happened worked.
It worked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because then. But facing definitely worked better because it wouldn't be good having the two kits next to each other or anything. And I wanted the bleed between the two microphones because I wanted it to sound real.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a trash mic up. I mainly used that because then it just got the room of the two drum kits going.
Between the two kits?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that was... I don't know, it was just really cool. I guess in my dream studio as well, I'd want space to track drums.
Right.
But I would want to be... I really like being in the room. I don't like having a vocal booth. I don't like having any booths. I would just want it in the room. I want to be there as it's happening.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's continue building the studio. Are we going to lock in Little Altar Boy as item number 6?
Well, I feel like the beam maybe should be the one instead of
The Beam Lunacy Audio.
Yeah. This is, I guess, the difference between Charlie Deakin Davies, the producer, and Charlie, the artist. Because Charlie, the producer, wants the beam. Sorry, wait. Charlie... Oh, my God, who am I? Charlie Deakin Davies wants the beam. Mm-hmm. Charlie wants Little Altar Boy.
Okay.
Because all of my guitars, all the lead lines are all pitched up using Little Altar Boy. And it's like a specific tone I have. I put a dry Telecaster, literally no processing, no amp, nothing, straight into the arrow with Little Altar Boy on, and that is the tone. So because I'm really into like Vampire Weekend and like that kind of like really dry indie tone, so that's how I get that stuff. So as Charlie the artist, I would be kind of like, oh, this is an identity crisis if I didn't have it, but maybe I should be challenged.
Well,
are you going with Lunacy Audio Beam then?
Yeah,
Great.
I think it's got more range.
Love
I could probably do Little Altar Boy in the Lunacy Audio.
you've got forever to figure it out.
Yeah, I do. So what? I mean, this feels like a chaotic group of things. What have I got then?
Here we go. So, Will, if you don't mind, let's go through the final selection. We can discuss if you want a change, but then we'll get onto the luxury item. Okay, so talk us through it, Will.
Okay. We're in London. Mm-hmm. We've taken over Strong Room Studios.
Sorry, Jake. We've
turned the seating area in the courtyard into a green space, a garden. You've created a natural creative space, not a studio. Mm-hmm. And we've got big windows looking over this beautiful garden. Your free items, for your computer, you've chosen a MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. Your interface is a UAD Arrow, forever.
Well, thanks for really making me feel confident in that decision.
Great interface. DAW is Logic Pro 11. And for your items, you have chosen for speakers the ATC SCM 45s. Mm-hmm. Your guitar is your very own thin line Fender Tele with double humbuckers. Mm-hmm. For processing, you've chosen the Shadow Hills Industries Dual Van de Graaff 500 in rack.
Why not?
We'll allow it. For your microphone, you've chosen a Neumann KU100 Fritz dummy head in a first for the show, I think. Is it
I think it's been chosen before, but not as the main microphone.
It's a really bold choice. I love it.
Thank you. No other microphone, just that. It's got range.
For your penultimate item, you've chosen the Old Blood Noise Reflector pedal. And your final choice, a first for the podcast, definitely, the Lunacy Audio Beam plugin.
How's that sound?
How does that work?
I think if I was like going to be like nervous, I would change out the Shadow Hills for the Devil Lock because I know it works. But I should, I should challenge myself.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could also buy the Devil Lock much more easily than...
I'm afraid all of your accounts have been frozen as soon as
you are locked in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so my luxury item.
Yeah.
If that is okay. Wait,
let's go.
Please, let's do it. Yeah.
Like I just okay.
Tell us about your luxury item.
Just a bit more energy about my studio space, right?
Yeah.
So in this whole, it's not a studio thing. I want it to feel like an incredibly creative space. Ideally, actually, I would love a Beyblade arena in the center of my studio. There's something about it. I do Beyblade. I don't have support acts at my gigs. I run a Beyblade tournament. I'm not even joking.
Wow.
Like when it's my own show, Incredible. It is amazing. There is nothing that gets people involved in something's happening and comfortable with strangers than screaming at spinning tops hitting each other in a bowl. Like... It's impeccable. So I just feel, imagine this, so you come into the studio. There's a Beyblade arena in the middle. There's a floating head that's a microphone. Mm-hmm. I also had this idea for these, I want speakers that are like not actually attached to the floor underneath. I want them hanging and I want them on clouds. I wanted to nothing. Like the desk is not a thing. I want it to be an immersive experience. My dream scenario, but like there's not enough items for this. is that there's actually interfaces dotted all around the studio, and they're like hidden in the sofa.
You have
and
to find them like an Easter egg hunt.
I mean, that would be sick.
Yeah.
It was
You record guitar, go!
But I want them all to be on like a main frame, like connected together.
Yeah.
But I also just want mics that can be easily done. So say I don't know, we're vibing right now. I mean, obviously I literally have a microphone in front of me, fantastic. But like we can just go.
Actually,
Like,
sounds a bit similar to Jacob Collier's studio, the way he's got it set, where he just goes over there and he's got.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when he was on the podcast and he had sort of these areas set up like that, and it all fed in.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's like,
amazing.
whether I'm being creative at the piano or or over here on a guitar, I've got access to everything.
Because I want something that just feels really fluid. Like even currently, my studio setup is like not super. It's not wild, but it's not super traditional because I've got a square room and then there's soundproofing and it's like conditioned to put a desk directly in the middle on the back wall.
Yeah.
But I actually have it like pushed all the way to the side, and then I have a sofa along one side so that I'm not like away from the artist. They're not behind me. My back is never to them. Like I just want this sort of like more like conversational thing. My desk, I just have a massive desk for no reason as well. I don't like the one I currently have, and I want something that's way more like subtle. It's like I don't want this like, here is a scary studio. I want, we are making songs and we can make them sound really good. That's like what I want.
So the luxury item, no life-size cut out of Shrek then?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that was that being held for, or is that just something I can just
I was
have
just
in-
going back to it, but
yeah,
like
yeah,
you
no,
only allowed one
I still
luxury item.
stand. Okay,
I think that'd be part of the decor.
okay.
Is that any different than like a sofa? Or like a mural?
Yeah, but we've had had sofas as a luxury item, specific ones.
That's true, yeah.
Beyblade arena is cooler.
I think a Beyblade arena is like epic, right? Because the other thing as well that I really wanted in my space, this isn't necessarily a luxury item, is I wanted it to also feel like a gig space. So I had this other idea that was basically that there's like a slight stage on the like bit where you would perform, and then I just thought it'd be so funny if I had like blow up doll audience.
Right.
Because sometimes you get in your head, right, like especially if you're writing music that is meant to be live, but all you're thinking about is the studio.
Have you seen what they've installed at the Royal London College of Music?
No.
So for like opera singers and performers, they've got like it's a real stage, and then it's like a VR wraparound screen of audience, but it's like it uses AI, so they react to your performance and things. But it's to give like students the idea of stepping out onto that huge stage in that huge space.
Yeah.
So
Well, I want
something like that is pretty cool.
My luxury item, a giant curved screen.
And it means they can. But it means they can do things like what it's like stepping out and it's not a sellout, and what it's like stepping out, to an audience that doesn't respond, or so they can. And it's just to get artists and a lot, especially performers and opera singers and stuff, over that line, because you can rehearse all you want until you step out there and the lights are at your face and you can see. Yeah, look it up. It's really interesting what they've done, like as a concept to calm people's stage fright and nerves.
A good use for VR.
Yes.
Beyblade Arena or wraparound VR audience?
It's a challenge I never thought I would have to face in my life to make that decision. Beyblades are my personality.
There we go.
There we go.
It's Beyblades.
Locked in.
It's got to be Beyblades.
But I do still think like having a thing. I mean, as I said, I think my official luxury item is the same as Ellie's, and both of us came up to this conclusion completely by ourselves. We want a microphone stand. That, again, if we both want this, I don't know why this doesn't exist, because it's something we've naturally both come to. I want a microphone stand that's on like a giant rig in the ceiling that you can just put anywhere in the room.
Like in a boxing ring.
Yes, literally. Imagine.
Yeah, it just drops down.
And here we go. I don't know how it would be like stiff enough to like stay in one position, but like I don't want a mic stand in front of me and a microphone on it. I want it to be above, and so I can have all this space around my legs and everything. Especially playing guitar, it's like so annoying when
They do have those. I've been in studios where they've got the huge arms, even in Abbey Road, where they've got the massive mic arms, and then they
I like
hang
the
stuff
latch
down.
lake ones.
Yeah, and sandbagged on all the sides and stuff. Yeah.
But I think like how cool would it be to have like a system in the ceiling?
Yeah.
That would also be my dream studio with Fritz just floating around.
And a control surface, surface, so they just sort of pop down, and then the artist. It's kind of like one of those whack-a-mole things, and the mic just comes down like, oh, it's over there.
Yeah,
you
gotta
go
run
over there
to
and
it.
sing, and then you suck it back up into the ceiling and drop it.
Yeah, you
down
gotta do a
like-
Beyblade tournament.
Not like the claw machine
Yeah,
in an
like-
arcade.
like-
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That sounds pretty cool,
Well,
actually.
you could have one of those as well. You just pick the artist up and put them in front of the microphone.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why
Do
not?
it that way round.
Right. Well,
Like a robotic chair.
These are all good options.
We've got out of hand, but
I'm excited for people to come to this studio. I'm excited to go to this studio.
yeah.
Well, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Really. Do you feel like this is a place you could work though?
Yeah, well, I think another feature as well, but it's not. Don't worry, you don't have to push a little soundboard. Decor-wise as well, I do just want trinkets everywhere, because when you're songwriting, it's really good to like look up and then be like, oh, that can inspire a lyric, or that can do that, rather than like just basic stuff or like just a grey room. Like,
just so we'll compress it, and for me too, we did upsell lots of dreams.
We did.
I think we did.
Upsell your dreams.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
We can be proud of ourselves, I think.
Anyway, all that's left to say is thank you so much for taking the time and building your Fantasy Forever studio with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, all that's left to say is thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time for more adventures into Studio Foreverdon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.